Hi everyone, my name's John. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to go all the way back in the reading archive for this video to talk about a book I read in the autumn. Let's double check the date. October of 2023 is when I finished this for the first year of Historathon. And the book is The Fire is Upon Us. Let's see if you can get the subtitle there. James Baldwin, William F. Buckley Jr., and the Debate Over Race in America by Nicholas Buccola. Nicholas Buccola's book was published in 2019 by Princeton University Press, and it sets up the clash between James Baldwin, one of America's great 20th century writers, critics, prophetic voices, and William F. Buckley, who is kind of a, high church, mid-Atlantic, sort of a very well-heeled television personality, mostly founded a magazine of his own, had a long-standing television show, like I said, who, at least on this topic, has outdated opinions regarding regarding race, and make him seem like it's sort of default bête noire. It's a story of two lives and political trajectories that culminate in their well-known February 18th, 1965 debate that was held at Cambridge Union, which can be viewed in full on YouTube if you're interested. Just Google Baldwin, Buckley, Cambridge Union debate. You'll see the whole thing. And it's fascinating to watch, by the way. I highly suggest it. Buccola's book serves as a dual biography, providing context about not only the 1965 debate, but civil rights in general in the United States in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Their backgrounds couldn't possibly be more different. Buckley was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, the son of an oil speculator who was raised in a Connecticut mansion staffed with servants who met his every want and need. On arriving at Yale, he was suspicious of what he perceived to be the left-leaning faculty there, and he would go on to recount his years in college in a book he wrote called God and Man at Yale, which was published in 1951 and went on to be one of the inaugural books of the modern American conservative movement. Baldwin, on the other hand, grew up poor, the son of an adopted evangelical preacher whose style nevertheless left an indelible mark on his son's writing and public speaking. I have no problem admitting that Baldwin is, and again, I'm focusing on the very narrow issue of African American enfranchisement in this very short period of history in the United States, and the conversation that's going on between these two people who are on pretty opposite ends of the spectrum. So regarding this issue, I have no problem admitting that Baldwin is superior to Buckley in pretty much every single way. More inspiring. I think he's more moral. I think he's a better writer. Buccola also shows his hand in favor of Baldwin, sometimes a little too eagerly. It's true that the ideas espoused in Buckley's, quite frankly, embarrassing 1957 National Review article, that's the name of the magazine that he founded, by the way, the National Review. The article was called Why the South Must Prevail, in which he explicitly advocated for the South's right to, and I quote, impose superior mores for whatever period it takes to effect a genuine cultural equality between the races. And of course, this permanently marred Buckley's reputation regarding race relations in the United States, and rightfully so. However, Buccola gives short shrift. I'll come to William Buckley's defense when he deserves it. He gives short shrift to Buckley's record on racial relations in other places. I need to slow down, including his sincere doubts that he expressed mostly in private correspondence about whether his own Catholic faith would actually allow for something like segregation, especially in the long term. And on other occasions, Buckley had on his television show, which was called Firing Line, he publicly took on figures like the Louisiana judge Leander Perez and Alabama Governor George Wallace. He took them to task for their racial bigotry, which they openly displayed in front of a television camera on his show. None of this is to defend Buckley's writing, per se, or his stance. Many of the things that he said are just simply indefensible. But Buccola, who holds an endowed professorship of government at Claremont McKenna College, could have done a little bit of a better job looking at how the subtleties appear in Buckley's position. So a minor quibble on my part. But for whatever Bucola's treatment of Buckley may have lacked, I think his scene setting around the Cambridge Union debate is really worth the price of admission for the book. He uses it beautifully to summarize Baldwin's corpus about race in America. In short, racism, if you've read Buckley, these are not new arguments for you. Racism is not just a political struggle, but it is a sign of deep moral decay within American society, a decay that has pernicious psychological effects, not only for black Americans, but for white ones too. For Baldwin, the American dream was little more than a nightmare being played out at the expense of African Americans. Buckley downplayed racism and segregation, arguing that the state shouldn't be allowed to interfere in private matters. Of course, this is part and parcel of what you would expect from someone who had every conceivable advantage handed to him at birth. A few years after their debate, Baldwin summed up his encounter with Buckley with his characteristic eloquence and psychological acuity. He said, quote, "I was trying to do what Martin," referring to Martin Luther King, "was doing. I still hoped people would listen. But Bill's a bully. He can't listen, and he uses weapons I certainly won't use. He was saying Negroes deserve their fate. They stink. To my eternal dishonor, I cooled it, I drew back, and I lost the debate. I should have beat him over the head with a coffee cup. He's not a serious man. He's the intellectual's James Bond." And this was certainly a sentiment that many people in the room on that day in Cambridge thought, and that even more people think now, probably. And again, speaking to this one narrow issue. Don't let the book's release by an academic press, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but this is from my beloved Princeton University Press right there, fool you into thinking that this is some dry academic monograph. It is a popularly written book for a popular audience. It's very accessible, has a low barrier entry regarding what you need to know, and it's really fun to read. It's a breeze to read. For any minor quibbles that I might have, Princeton University Press is, again, sort of gone out of its way to present cultural history that's compulsively readable, reflects a deep understanding of the American Civil Rights era, and how those issues continue to reverberate in politics today. So if you have any interest in the American political scene in the 50s and 60s, the Civil Rights era specifically, through the lens of two really fascinating people, this is something that should be high up on your list. Had I made a top 3 or 5 or 10 books of 2023, which I never did, I did one for the first time for my 2024 books, and I'll make sure to do them in the future because I think people like that kind of video. But had I made one, this would have been in the top 5 for 2023. This and Fatal Discord, the book about Martin Luther and Erasmus. But yes, definitely pick this up if you ever get a chance. The Fire is Upon Us. James Baldwin, William F. Buckley Jr., and The Debate Over Race in America by Nicholas Buccola. I will talk to you soon, and take care.